Hi, and welcome to my live event. Thank you for joining. My name is Tracy Cordner. I do healing bodywork in the Boston area and also remotely. I'm joining you live from my teenage son's bedroom because he has the best technology, so enjoy that. Today we're here to talk about this book, Embracing Anxiety by Karla McLaren. I'll spend 20 to 25 minutes or so talking about anxiety, what it is, what it isn't, why it's important, how to distinguish it from different emotions, and how, most importantly, how to productively engage with it. And we'll mostly be talking about the normal functioning of anxiety. We'll talk a little bit as well about disordered anxiety and what can happen when things are a little out of balance. Before we do that, I thought maybe we could do an experiential exercise. One of the exercises in the book that's outlined as something to do when you are feeling anxious is called grounding and focusing. And I assume that if you're here, you're interested in anxiety and you might be experiencing a little bit of it. So why don't we just do the grounding and focusing exercise before we even get started? So if you can, if you're not driving or anything else, stand up. And from there, we're just going to put our hands on our head. Really simple. And then we're going to gently move our hands down our neck, the front of our body, our abdomen. And then when we get to our legs, we'll just bend forward a little bit and just follow that all the way down. The thighs and the shins to the bottom of the feet. And when you get to the bottom of the feet, just do a little sweeping motion, as if you're just pushing something down out into the earth. And we're going to do the same thing again, but at the back. So hands on head, come down the sides. Instead of going in front, we're going to go on the side, and then we're going to go to the back, behind the hips, to your butt, to behind your legs, behind your shins, and then again. At your heels, do just a little sweeping motion. This exercise is designed to bring you to the here and the now. And in the book, she recommends doing it as often as you need to until you feel like you're right here in the moment. And as we'll discuss, anxiety exists to prepare us for the future. And one of the things that we can do to help when we're having too much anxiety is to remember, oh yes, I'm here in this moment. I'm not in the future. I don't need to be in the future. Okay, so now that we're all here and we're all now, just a couple of housekeeping things. Nobody pays me to do this. I don't have a relationship with Karla McLaren or anybody else. I'm just an enthusiast, a fangirl, if you will. And there's just me, so I will be leaving room for questions at the end. You can ask them at any time, but I most likely won't be able to look at them until I can shift focus at the end. But I'll happily do my best to answer questions about that. I just want to say a little bit about Karla McLaren, the author of the book. She's been around for a while. I've followed her work for some time. She used to be more in the New Age community. She's published books about, auras and chakras and energetic boundaries for sensitive people. She has a really interesting history as somebody who suffered early abuse, in her early life, which caused her to really separate from her experience. She was also raised in some kind of a cult and has had to sort of walk her way back to balance for both of those things. And so she has this incredible gift. She has published as like a clairvoyant and a psychic, but in recent years she has distanced herself from the New Age community because of what she identifies as saying that there were some tendencies in the spiritual community to cause people to separate from their experience even more. And what she realized in her healing, and as well as the people that she worked with, is that in order to really heal, people need to be closer to their experience, to be comfortable being aware of what's going on with them. And some practices that she saw in the New Age community were sort of encouraging that separation from experience. So in the last 10 or so years, she's really published more as an academic, and this book is really not spiritual at all. It's completely takes place within the realm of mind and emotion, and that'll become important later on when we're talking. So moving on, let's just get into it. Let's talk about what is anxiety. What is anxiety? It's a great question. It's one that she's concerned herself with, the author, and one that I definitely have thought about. So why don't we explore it together? So if I say anxiety, what happens to you? What happens to your body? For me, I feel a little bit more awake. I feel a little bit like I'm anticipating something. I feel like I'm a little bit worried. I feel like I'm not quite okay. There's something that's not okay. That's what I feel when I feel anxiety. I feel a little bit almost like I'm breathing up here. I'm just, and I'm not comfortable or settled in my space. That's my experience of anxiety. Yours may be a little bit different, may be related. In the book, anxiety is described as an emotion that motivates us to get things done. That's at its base. It's an emotion that motivates us to get things done. So anxiety is future focused. It's thinking about what we need to do, where we need to be, and what we need to do in order to be prepared for whatever it is that we need to do. So it's that part of you that's asking, did you do that? Is this done? Is it done properly? Do you have the right stuff for that? If you don't, what do you need to do to go get that? And then if you don't go and get that or do whatever you need to do to prepare, then the intensity goes up. But as with every emotion, and Karla McLaren has also written a larger novel, like a larger work about every emotion, 17 different emotions that she's identified. Anxiety is only one of them. And for each one of those, she shows that emotions are not a problem until they're at the intense levels, and that many times our emotions exist on a very low intensity level, and we don't even recognize them as that particular emotion because they're not in the way yet. Anxiety is the same. At low intensity, anxiety shows up as just a general sense of concern or interest, or maybe a low level unease feeling. And whatever it's concerned with, if that's not addressed, then the intensity goes up. And then we start to get into the realm of what most of us call anxiety, which is worry, lack of relaxation, anticipation, tension, overthinking. And actually this process can lead to a different emotion called panic, which is sort of a more life-saving fight or flight, oh no, sort of feeling. But Karla's really careful to separate anxiety and panic, even though they often work together. So we won't be talking much about panic. We'll be talking more about just anxiety. Another function of anxiety that I'm sure we're all aware of is that it's there to monitor our social situation and make sure that socially we understand our environment, and that we know where we stand and we know what we need to do to meet our social obligations. So anxiety is not just asking, is this done? What's going on? What do I need to do? It's also asking, am I accepted? Do I have friends? Are these people kind to me? Who can I trust? What do I need to do to make sure that these people like me, basically? And we all get into a lot of trouble with those kinds of questions, which is why many of us mislabel anxiety as a problematic emotion. So Karla talks about two different ways that people handle this. We all have this function. We all have this function of anxiety. Some of us address it as it comes up. So if we have a very low level concern-based anxiety that says, hey, did you email that guy back? We go, oh, no, I didn't. I'm going to go do that right now. That's a more task-focused approach. Another way to be task-focused is to sort of think about all those things you need to do, write them down, promise to do them, and then do them. So that's one way of sort of answering the call of anxiety. Anxiety is saying, hey, I'm worried this isn't done. Hey, I don't like how I feel when I haven't done this. And then if we either make a list or we address it, then the intensity goes back down. Some people allow their intensity to get pretty high before they take action. These are the kinds of people who maybe they drive you crazy because they're supposed to be planning something and it seems like they're not doing anything, but the day before the meeting or the event that they're planning, they have somehow hyper focus and full energy to take care of everything that they need to do, and somehow everything goes off without a hitch. So that's a more deadline or procrastination based approach to anxiety. People who have this approach are more comfortable with the more intense levels of anxiety, and actually some people need that in order to really focus themselves. They need the intensity to be so high that they can't focus on anything else except that, so that they can get their work done. So maybe you recognize yourself in either one of these. One is not better than the other. It just really speaks to how comfortable you are with that sense of worry or unease. So here's another thing that I have not heard anybody talk about until I read Karla's book, is that anxiety also serves this internal function. It has an internal function. It's not just scanning your external world and saying, did you take care of your stuff? Are you going to be ready? Do you have the right clothing? That is one function that it has, and we'll call that the external. So making sure that all of the pieces in your life are fitting together so that you can be comfortable and safe. However, anxiety is also scanning your internal environment. It's looking for barriers to your well-being or to your preparedness for your life. So this is the same voice that kind of goes, are you going to see a doctor about that? That might become a problem in the future if you don't. Or have you noticed that you're not getting out of bed as easily as you used to? Do you think you might be getting a little depressed? And then it also serves this function that I guess many of us don't appreciate, but what is really important is that if there's some kind of traumatic belief or memory that we've had in our history that we're sort of stuck in, or it's blocking us from having a full experience of life, anxiety is going to point that out. It's going to say, hey, I noticed that you keep feeling the same things over and over again, and they're sort of from back then, and it's stopping you from relating the way that you'd like to. So let's clear this up. Let's look at this. Let's process this. Or when are you going to process this, essentially? Because anxiety can point out these traumas that we have, or these difficult emotions that may have been repressed, a lot of us associate anxiety with those uncomfortable feelings. And then we don't want to feel anxiety. We don't want to hear anything about it. We just want to say, no, forget it. And then the intensity can go up. So anxiety is actually serving a really important function here, because it can point us, so if we're thinking externally, it can point us to what we need to do to make sure that we're meeting our social obligations, we're doing the things that we need to do so that we're not stressed out and we don't fail, we don't lose our job, right? That's an important function of anxiety. but it's also kind of like your internal alarm system that says, hey, there's stuff here that we need to work on, and it engaged with productively, it can point you in the direction that your healing needs to go. So, thinking about anxiety this way, disordered anxiety, like social anxiety or generalized anxiety, where anxiety just seems to be rolling all the time, these can come up when, say, like anxiety is trying to help you finish your stuff, help you become acceptable, help you to get things done. If you're in, say, a situation where no matter what you do, it's never enough, either because the person that you're trying to please is never going to be pleased, or because your own internal voices are so harsh that whatever you've done is not good enough for yourself, so you have this harsh inner voice, your anxiety is just going to keep trying. It's going to keep reminding you that you're not there yet, and you just got to keep trying to get there. So in this way, anxiety can get stuck into the on position if we're in these kind of situations. Any kind of unsafe or abusive relationship would naturally drive up the anxiety, because essentially there's no way to predict whether or not we're going to be safe in those kind of relationships. And that's what anxiety is trying to do. Also, if there's a lot of unprocessed trauma, then we're going to be feeling like anxiety is going to just continue to tell you, hey, you've got some unprocessed stuff. Hey, you've got some emotions here that really need to be sort of looked at. And then anxiety will stay in the sort of on position as well. And so you can see how, if you think about anxiety this way, disorders of anxiety could be understood as sort of a situational situation. So, okay, that's anxiety. That's sort of what it is. But what can we do when we have anxiety? What can we do when our anxiety is amped up to a level that's too high, that's not helpful, or we've gotten to a place where we're so uncomfortable that we can't even take those steps that we need to take to get things done or to figure out what's going on. Karla talks about what she calls conscious questioning of anxiety. And actually, conscious questioning is something that you can do with any emotion, but since we're talking about anxiety, we'll talk about it just like that. The conscious questioning is that, okay, your anxiety is here. You see that, you can recognize that. Oh, and you could express it. You could follow all of its orders and start taking care of everything that you need to take care of. Sometimes anxiety will have you taking care of everything that you can, rather than what's most important. So you could just sort of express this unease. You could repress it, pretend like it's not there. But this conscious questioning is this place in the middle, which is where you notice that anxiety is present, and you say, I'm feeling anxiety right now. What has brought this about? And Karla McLaren has some great emotion cards, one for every of the 17 emotions that she's identified. And if we look at the anxiety one, each card talks about the gifts of that emotion, and then the internal questions you can ask when you're consciously questioning why this emotion is here, and then a couple other things, signs of obstruction and practices that you can do. So the internal questions for this one, so when you notice that anxiety is present, instead of just buzzing around right away or expressing that unease or being cranky, harsh, which we can be when we're feeling this way, and instead of ignoring it, repressing it, we can say, okay, what brought this about? What is it? Was it that comment that person made? I started feeling anxious after that person left. What was it that they said? We can start to ask, what actually brought this about? And the next question is, what truly needs to be done? It's funny because truly is in bold and italics, because as we know, anxiety can get a little out of control, and it can tell you that not only do you need to take care of the meeting, but you also need to clean your dishes and have a shower and sweep the floor and make sure and right. So anxiety has that energy of gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta do it. So it's really up to your own discernment to really sift through what anxiety is telling you. It's like anxiety is giving you the data, and you have to pull out what's important. You have to pull out and say, you know what, I'm actually really anxious because I have to see that guy again, and it didn't go well last time. What can I do to prepare myself? And that can help you to work on what the anxiety is concerned with. Lists can help. Sometimes it's almost like you're engaging with your anxiety as another person. Your anxiety is telling you, you need to do all these things. And you can say, you're right, I do need to do all those things. Why don't I write them down, and I will promise you that I will do them today or tomorrow, and you can calm down. So lists can be one way to help. The grounding exercise as well that we did at the beginning is another way to bring yourself back to right here, right now, to tell anxiety that, yeah, I get it, you're in the future, you're thinking about the future, but I'm here right now, and that's what I'm focused on right now. And right now, I'm okay. So that's one way that we can engage with anxiety as well. There are 4 other practices outlined in the book. Let's see if I can remember them. Conscious complaining, so just sitting down and deciding to complain for a set amount of time, just to give voice to the feeling. Let's see, what are the other ones? Rejuvenation, so imagining a nice and comfortable place to be, sort of a more peaceful, mindfulness-based practice. And let's see. Oh, there was burning contracts as well, which is that we think about, okay, what agreements do we have in our head that may not be healthy for us? Can we get rid of some of those? And there's one more that I can't remember. So those are different ways of sort of coming back from when you have a little bit too much anxiety. So that's the summary of the book. There's a couple of chapters about when anxiety pairs up with different other emotions that are common that go along with it: panic, fear, depression, all of those. Really interesting chapters that can help you see and decouple those emotions and work with them individually, or notice when these two emotions are coming together and why that might be. So those are also very interesting. I want to say just a few words about how the book is, how I'm using the book with my work, or how it works with the way that I approach healing. And what I found is that this book really is in the realm of just mind and emotion. And of course there's a deeper part of us that's not anxious at all. There's a quiet part of us that knows that we're okay no matter what. There's some kind of deeper part of us, and that's the part that we support when we do healing work. So, it's common for my clients to come up off the table and say, geez, I was feeling anxious walking in, but I can see now that that's not the point. The point is, I don't even know what the point is, but I feel fine. There's just this sense of there's something supporting you that is comfortable basically in all situations. So without addressing that part, we're putting anxiety in this anxiety in mind as the focus here. As what anxiety is really good at pointing out what your mind is concerned with, what your mind is thinking about. And the mind can only go so far, essentially. So some of the questions that I ask when people are going through some anxious thoughts is not just, what needs to be done, but who is feeling this? Who is concerned with this? So imagine if you're feeling anxious about being accepted by a group of people. I might, instead of helping you prepare to be acceptable for those people, I might ask you, why do you need to be acceptable to these people? Who is it that's really needing that? And then that might point to some of the situations that help develop that need in the first place. So that goes just a couple of layers deeper, because we have all kinds of voices and forces inside of us. We've got an inner child. Sometimes we have a traumatized self, or we have a self that's inadequate, or that just feels like they're never going to be enough, and these all developed much earlier than, like, very, very early in our life. So essentially, I think of anxiety and as a way of really checking in with what's going on in your mind and what your mind is concerned with. And yes, you can make your lists, and you can follow the rules that you need to follow to take care of everything in your life. But you can also go deeper than that, and you can just say, why do I care about any of this in the first place? That's a question you can ask without any judgment at all. Why do I care about this in the first place? And that can kind of be the opening to a deeper healing. So I think I've said enough here. I'll leave a little bit of room for questions if there are any. And if not, then I will bid you adieu and tell you thank you for joining me today. My website is tracycordner.com. All the information is on my Facebook page. I also do daily updates on this Facebook page, and I'm just thrilled to know you. Thank you.